Hey guys, I got a brand new video for you today, and first I just want to say thanks to you guys for subscribing. I hit 10,000 subscribers last week, and I never would have thought that many people would ever want to hear me nerd out about camera equipment or talk about technology and stuff like that. It's really awesome, and I just want to say thanks again, and I really appreciate it. Today we're looking at the GoPro Hero 5 Black and the GoPro Hero 5 Session. And I didn't buy these GoPros, my buddy Phil did, and he has a YouTube channel where he drums and does drum covers. And these are perfect for him, and he mainly got them because he really liked the idea of having voice commands and being able to tell these to start recording, and they would record in sync. So I'll talk about that later and kind of show how that works. I've never really liked GoPro. I'm not really extreme enough. I'm not jumping out of airplanes without parachutes or swimming with sharks or doing triple Superman backflips with my dirt bike. But I did take my BMX bike out to the park. Don't expect anything crazy, but here's some image samples in 4K and 2.7K between the two GoPros, just to get an idea of what they look like. So going over the specs on both of these cameras, they both shoot 4K at 30 frames per second. They both do 2.7K at 30 frames per second. The Hero 5 Black can do 60 frames per second in 2.7K, and the Hero 5 Session does 48 frames per second in 2.7K. And then when you get to 1080p, the Hero 5 Black can do up to 120 frames per second for slow motion, and the Hero 5 Session does 90 frames per second in slow motion. The Hero 5 Black is a 12 megapixel camera, which can actually shoot RAW photos, and the Hero 5 Session is only 10 megapixels and does not do RAW photos. They're both waterproof up to 33 feet, which is pretty awesome because now you don't need the waterproof housing for them, and you can actually get better image quality that way and better audio quality that way. They both have voice control, which allows you to record, stop record, take a time lapse, take photos and stuff like that. I'll get into that later. They both have Wi-Fi that allows you to connect to the app and set all your settings and get a live feed straight to your phone or tablet. They both do interval time-lapse capture. They also do night lapse, and they also do time-lapse to video. So you can actually do a time-lapse and it'll turn it into a 4K video for you, so you don't have to do that on your own in post. They both charge with USB Type-C. The Hero 5 Black has a battery that can be removable, and the Hero 5 Session has a built-in battery which you can't remove. The Hero 5 Black has a touch screen, and it allows you to, make your changes and adjust the menus and stuff like that right from the back of the camera. And they both have electronic image stabilization. And one other feature that the GoPro Hero 5 has that the Hero 5 Session doesn't have is 3 mics. So getting into the electronic image stabilization, which is a new feature on both of these GoPros, it's pretty awesome because I never really liked how shaky the old GoPros used to look. And this should help with that, especially mounting it to like bikes and other things like that. It should really eliminate the shake. The only downside is that it won't do it in 4K. You have to set it to 2.7K. Another really cool feature that both of these GoPros have, which only works in 2.7K, is changing the field of view. So you can go from super wide to medium to linear. And basically all that does is it adjusts the crop on the sensor and moves it in a little bit, which starts to take away the distortions from the edge. And then in linear mode, I think it's using some software to correct lines and make everything straight. So I want to show you guys the max frame rate in 1080p. The GoPro Hero 5 can do 120 frames per second, and the Hero 5 Session can do 90 frames per second. And now I'm getting really crazy. I'm on my skateboard for this one, so let's check out that test. So I didn't really do a crazy low light test. I just took this out and kind of held it up near a tree just to kind of show you what it looks like and how it's able to capture shadows and stuff like that in low light. The GoPro Hero 5 Black can go up to 6400 ISO, and the Hero 5 Session can only go up to 1600 ISO. I wouldn't take either of these cameras past 800 ISO. They start to look kind of grainy. The Hero 5 Black can handle a little bit more low light, and I guess it's kind of the winner in this situation. This is the audio test on the Hero 5 Session, talking to the front, now to the side, and then to the rear, now back to the side, and then to the front, and you can hear what it sounds like. This is the audio test on the Hero 5 Black, talking to the front, now to the side, back to the rear. This GoPro has 3 mics on it, so it should sound pretty good from any angle. Check 1, 2. So now I want to talk about the menu systems on both these cameras. They're both different, but let's jump into the touchscreen on the Hero 5 Black. Swiping down gets you to your preferences and connection settings. You can scroll down through your preferences here. You can do a lot of different things. You can change the brightness on the back of the screen. You can also turn the GPS on and off. Saves batteries if you keep it off, but that'll let you geotag your photos and videos. Change the language, and also format your SD card. So tapping on res lets you change the resolution, tapping on FPS lets you change the frames per second, and then tapping on FOV allows you to change the field of view. Now swiping in from the right allows you to change the Pro Tune settings, so customizing your colors, ISO, white balance, and things like that. Swiping in from the left allows you to see your library of photos and videos. I didn't have anything on here, so you can't see that. Now tapping on the camera icon allows you to change which mode the camera is going to go into. You can switch to photo mode. As you can see, we're in RAW here, but right as soon as I change the field of view, you also can't do RAW photos in anything other than wide. Now the menu system is a little bit different on the Hero 5 Session. You can toggle through your settings with the main button and the record button and make pretty much any change. It's easier just to hook this up to the Wi-Fi app and then make all your changes inside the app. And it's really awesome because you can set this up somewhere that you can't really reach or in a position that you can't really get to and actually frame up your shot using the live feed with the app. So I didn't really do a hardcore battery test on these cameras like I normally do. I just don't have enough time with it. You can probably find some other battery tests on the internet. I'm a little bit late to this review, so I'm sure there's lots of other ones that show the battery. We shot this drum cover for probably 2 hours. This GoPro ran for about an hour and a half and still had roughly 20% left on it, and that was shooting 4K video. And then the Hero 5 Session died out a little bit before an hour, but I think that's because we had the Wi-Fi communication on and also the voice command. I think that if you turn off voice command and your Wi-Fi communications, you get a lot more longer battery life. But the sweet thing is that you can actually take the doors off both of these cameras and plug them in inside the frame. The Hero 5 Session will actually pop the door and you can plug it in inside of the frame. The Hero 5 Black, you actually have to take the door off if you want to put it back into the frame and then charge it. And the sweet thing is you can plug in through USB and charge both these cameras off a USB power brick or even from your computer or some other USB source. The Hero 5 Black looked like it was charging and recording at the same time, where the Hero 5 Session didn't look like it was charging, it was just running straight off the power while it was recording. I could be wrong, but that's just what I noticed from the little icons. So one of the coolest new features that comes with both of these GoPros is voice control, and it works out really well, especially if you're trying to sync both of them at the same time. But there are some quirks. Sometimes it doesn't work perfectly, and I noticed that if you're in a lot of noise, it's hard to make it hear you, and you have to actually get really close to it in order for it to pick up your voice. But it's still really awesome to be able to get it to record or take a photo or take a burst or start a time lapse. It's really awesome having it on both of these cameras.
GoPro, stop recording. GoPro, start recording.
Okay, so this review wouldn't be complete if I didn't talk about the things that bothered me or annoyed me. And the biggest one that bothered me was the voice control. Although it's really awesome, it's not perfect every time. And sometimes it doesn't really pick up your voice. And we even had it sometimes when you said, GoPro record a video, it would take a burst out of nowhere. It'd just start taking bursts of photos and not video at all.
GoPro, start recording.
And also if you have them both going and one doesn't hear you say start record and you tell it to stop recording, the other one will start recording because it thinks that stop record is the same thing as start record.
GoPro, stop recording. It's starting when I say stop. GoPro, stop recording. And now this one's recording.
I feel like if they had some kind of way to train your voice to it, it would know exactly how you say things, and maybe that would help stop issues like that. Although it's awesome, it does have some flaws, and maybe with a firmware update they'll be able to dial that in a little bit better. Also, if you're in a lot of ambient noise, I was out at the bike park and I had a highway behind me with cars. Neither GoPro could really hear me until I was at least within 2 feet of it, so there's that issue as well. But indoors with not that much noise, I'm like 2 rooms away, it could hear me to tell it to shut off, and that was pretty crazy. I found on the Hero 5 Black that the touchscreen is kind of laggy and sometimes clicks on things that you didn't actually click on, you were just trying to move, and it's really frustrating. And I also find that when it gets really cold outside that the screen also becomes kind of slightly unresponsive. You click on things and things don't actually do anything. I also heard that if it gets wet it does kind of the same thing. One other thing I noticed with the Hero 5 Session is that it will randomly turn on and turn off for no reason, just sitting there on its own. And I googled this because I thought it was kind of weird and why it was glitching out like that. But I guess it has something to do with communication. So I guess if you turn off communications when you're done using it, it won't do that. But yeah, it'll just randomly be sitting there and just start beeping, and I'll be looking at it like, what the heck? Why did that turn on? But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind. One other thing about image quality, the 4K image quality is really good. The 2.7K image quality is really good, but when it comes to the slow motion 1080p video, I'm just really picky, and to me it doesn't really look that good. And I figure, you know, it's 2016, almost 2017, should be mastered by now. Like, I don't know, it just, to me, it didn't seem good enough. It's got a lot of aliasing, and you know, it might not be that big of a deal if people are watching it on a cell phone, but if they pull it up on a, you know, a big TV, it's going to be pretty obvious. Although the 120 frames per second doesn't look too good in 1080p, the 30 frames per second actually does look pretty good. There's a lot more detail and less aliasing. I have a feeling they probably lowered the bitrate in order to be able to do 120 frames per second. So my final thoughts on both of these GoPros, I think that the 4K image quality is really good. I would say that they're actually almost the same until you start getting into some low light situations where the Hero 5 Session starts to fall apart. But there's a lot of tech packed into both of these cameras. I can't believe that they put that much stuff in this little tiny cube. You got electronic image stabilization, 4K video, a built-in battery, Wi-Fi connectivity. It's pretty crazy what they can do with this little tiny camera. I think that the features like 4K video time lapses is really awesome. It's, you know, it's a lot of work to take all the files in from a camera and then turn it into a time lapse. And the fact that you can do that in camera is really awesome. So having a touchscreen on the back of the Hero 5 Black built in is pretty awesome. Previously on the older GoPros, you'd have to buy a screen and connect it to the back, except for the Hero 4 Silver. I think it had a built-in screen. But the fact that it's built in, it's all, both of these are waterproof up to 33 feet, and it's got great weather sealing. And one other thing I noticed is that both of these lenses can actually be replaced. They can come off and you can replace them. Because I was thinking, you know, what if you got some mud on these lenses and you didn't have the waterproof housing? Stones would scratch the front lenses and then your cameras are pretty much useless. And that's why the housings were better, because you could destroy them and then the camera would be fine. But the cool thing is they can both be replaced, so it's not that big of a deal. When the voice commands are actually working, it's freaking awesome. Being able to set these up in a location where you couldn't reach them, you can just tell them, you know, record, and they'll start recording. And it's really awesome being able to just tell them to turn off. I think that more cameras should have this option. Maybe more cameras will start having this option. All right, so both of these are on right now. GoPro, turn off. I think that's pretty sweet. But yeah, there's really not that much to talk about. They're just a small action camera. You can hook them onto whatever you want to and start filming. I would say that if you have the Hero 4 already, it's maybe not worth upgrading to the Hero 5. If you want something like waterproofing and maybe the touchscreen built into the back of it. But if you have the other Session already, the Hero 5 Session is definitely worth upgrading to, in my opinion. Anyway guys, thanks for watching this little review. I wish I had a little bit more time with these. I'd do a little bit more testing, but they're not mine. I gotta give them back. But thanks for watching, and if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you dislike it, thumbs down twice, and I'll see you in the next one.